Hello, welcome to the Mediocre Takes podcast, the podcast where we share our mediocre takes on the shows and movies we watch. I'm Marco and I'm here with my co-host Mel. How are you doing, Mel?
I am okay.
Are you sure about that?
You know what? Let's just take it one day at a time.
Today we're going to be finishing off our discussion on Bloom Into You, the Yuri anime, the famous Yuri anime. Probably the most popular Yuri anime out there, I think. At least right now. I really love it. It's my favorite anime and manga of all time. And yeah, let's just get into episode 7 where we left off. This episode starts off with a flashback of Sayaka first realizing she likes women. We see how her first relationship falls apart. She really wanted to believe it was just a phase, but then she changed her mind after meeting Toko. Koyomi and you have a chat about what Toko is really like because Koyomi is writing a script. Toko gets another love letter. Sayaka explains that Toko leaves everyone at a certain distance so love would be impossible. Sayaka explains that as long as Toko stays that way, Sayaka can be the closest person to her. Toko then explains that Sayaka is kind in a way because she never oversteps like Yu does. Sayaka just wants Toko to be the same way. We cut to them at the cafe. They see Hakazaki, which is one of the student council advisors, at the cafe as well. Toko asks Yu if Yu can call her by a nickname. Toko gets flustered. Hakazaki and the store owner kiss. The cafe owner. Sayaka gets worried that Toko and Yu are dating, and we cut to Sayaka at the cafe where she asks the owner if she's dating Miss Hakazaki. The owner says she is. Sayaka explains that she has a crush on a girl and that she's worried because Toko doesn't seem to want to be in a relationship. The owner says that there's nothing wrong with hiding your feelings, and caring for a girl you like while not telling you like her speaks volumes. So I hear a lot of people saying that Sayaka was at the wrong place in the wrong time, and that maybe if she was there at the right moment she could have dated Toko, but I really disagree with that sentiment. First of all, Toko falls in love with Yu because Yu can't love. At least that's what's going on when we first meet Toko, while Sayaka can love. So this would have never worked out in my opinion. Secondly, I feel like Yu kind of pushes Toko while Sayaka, as Toko puts it, wants Toko to stay as this perfect person. And while Sayaka does eventually see the real version of Toko, I feel like she would never have had the chance in the first place because she never questioned Toko. I really love this episode. We get an older queer woman giving advice to a younger queer woman, and something about that I just really loved. I feel like it's really important to have stuff in queer media, and I found their conversation to be well written.
Okay, honestly, this episode is in my top 5 gayest episodes of this 13 episode series. Another thing that I just want to talk about is you mentioned in the last episode about we get an explanation as to why Sayaka is the way she is, and you're right. Yeah, I also do want to say though something I think is so interesting. I feel like girl relationships or women's relationships and stuff like that, I think it's really easy to feel like you like someone or your friend who's a girl romantically just because it's more socially acceptable in a lot of places for women to feel that way. And I just want to say I feel so sorry for men who can't also go through what Sayaka did because they the patriarchy won't let them be a little gay with their friend, and that only kind of has to do with the show, but I just wanted to point that out. Why is it that the language teacher, in this case it's the Japanese teacher, but for us it would be the English teacher, why is it that they're either always gay or an ally? At this point I feel like it's a prerequisite. A lot of my personal English teachers were either gay or an ally, and I just feel like this is perpetuating a very good stereotype in my opinion. Also, okay, the scene with Yu and Toko, where Toko was being a big gay mess and she was like, can I call you something? And then Yu was like, sure. And then she was like, honey. Yu was like, that me? Did she say that me? Did she literally say that me? I heard that. I don't know if they meant for it to be funny. Something about that literally just had me literally laughing out loud. And I had to rewatch it a few times just to make sure that she said, that me? I wish there was more of that. I don't know, that sort of just funny dialogue in this season or in this show in general. What she said sort of sounded weird. I don't know if it's because it was sort of a localization issue. Yes, gay panic in this episode. Very good. Very adorable. Also, like you stated before, with an older queer helping out a younger queer. Love to see it. We don't really get it that often in general, so it was just so lovely. And I'm glad that we do have older queer characters in this show.
Episode 8. We start this episode with Sayaka meeting her ex-girlfriend. Her ex-girlfriend apologized for making Sayaka a lesbian. Sayaka says it's no problem, and then holds Toku's arm and walks away. We cut to them training for the Baton Pass run, which goes poorly between Sayaka and Yu. Yu and Sayaka decide to go to a fast food place. They try to get along. Yu tells Sayaka that Sayaka seems to really like Toko, and Sayaka asks Yu if Yu likes Toko as well. Yu asks Sayaka that once the stage show is over, she wonders if Toko will be able to go back to her true self. Sayaka thinks that that's not what Toko really wants. If that day were to ever come though, Sayaka wonders if she would ever be able to tell Toko how she feels, and Yu wonders what would happen to her relationship. We cut to them at school when it's raining and Yu is trying to find someone to share an umbrella with. That's when she sees Toko and they walk home together. Toko talks about how she used to bring an umbrella to her sister and that walking together feels nostalgic. Toko thinks that she might be taking advantage of Yu. It's the next day and we see Sayaka and Yu manage to do the baton pass perfectly, and that's the end of the episode. Okay, so something I want to mention is that each character asks what color hydrangeas each person likes, and I can't help but wonder what the color of the hydrangeas mean. Like, I wish someone would explain it to me because it seems like a really smart thing to add in this episode, and I just don't get it. Toko and Yu fighting over the umbrella is really cute. I love the nice moments in their relationships because I feel like their relationship can be a bit problematic at times. There's a moment where it seems like Toko is going to snap after Yu says that she's really happy, which always scares me. Toko does not want Yu to fall in love with her, and it shows. And I love the beginning of this episode where Sayaka meets her ex-girlfriend and how she shows off Toko. It's extremely funny.
Did we ever get the name of Sayaka's ex?
I don't know. I don't think so. I can search it.
Whatever her name was, that bitch was ugly and I hate her and all my friends hate her and she's a little bitch for saying what she said. Also, another reason why I love Sayaka, when she wants to be cruel, she knows exactly what to say. She always got these girl boss lines. I don't know, it's chef's kiss. Also, one thing that I realized that I missed about anime in general is whenever they are showing a fast food place, it is always a McDonald's, but they can't use the McDonald's name, so it's always something like different. And this one was Yadonald with 3 D's.
Episode 9. We start this episode with Yu going after the banners in the gym storage room when Toko closes the door on her. They kiss. Then we cut to the sports day. Koyomi is struggling with writing characters, specifically Toko. That's when Koyomi realizes that maybe the fact that no one knows her is part of her character. Maki asks Yu if she's feeling lonely because Toko has no time for her. Yu explains that she can't fall in love with anyone. Maki thinks that even though they are the same because they both can't love, they are also different. Yu feels lonely for not being able to love while Maki doesn't. We cut to the cafe owner seeing how Miss Hakazaki will do during the relay. Then we cut to the student council room doing the relay. The basketball club wins. We cut to Yu and Toko hiding in the storage room, and Yu doesn't feel like kissing Toko because she feels like kissing Toko would be the wrong decision. So Toko kisses Yu instead, and that's the end of the episode. Okay, so I like this episode, but I will say the ending scene of them kissing made me a bit uncomfortable. I don't know, man. Maybe it's because of the fact that I'm a gay dude that's like watching two girls kissing, but something about that scene always made me uncomfortable. Maybe it's the fact that they also use tongue, but I don't know. I always found it a bit uncomfy. I really like the comparison between Yu and Maki in this episode. The way they talk about being in love is kind of like seeing a movie. Their watching reminds me of the first scene where Maki is talking about how he doesn't feel love. And I love that while Maki doesn't feel lonely, Yu does, showing she's not quite asexual. I like that we're slowly watching Yu fall in love with Toko, and it's especially shown in the scene where Yu is watching Toko do track and how she seems to be lost in thought and can't help but stare at Toko.
Toko was giving major douchebag vibes in this episode. Specifically, my main issue was when she kissed Yu in the beginning. She was like, I want a reward. Something about that was just so icky and so gross. There could have been different words used, but just being like a reward, something about that I do not like. And then also Myaku literally spotting Toku and without hesitation clocking her as a handful. I mean, was she wrong? No. Also, I also had an issue with the kissing at the end. I haven't seen like French kissing in anime for maybe about like 6 or 7 years. Totally forgot how weird and wrong it looks. And there were a couple noises that I did not like. I hope I never have to see or hear anything like that in the foreseeable future.
Episode 10. We start this episode with Koyomi finally finishing the first draft of the stage show script. Yu takes the script, makes copies, and gives the script to Toko. We learn that the script follows a main character with amnesia. During the main character's trip to the hospital, the main character is visited by a family member, a lover, and a friend. She gets completely different impressions of who she is by each of them. With no sign of her memory coming back, she's forced to answer a serious question. Although she wants to go back to her normal self as soon as possible, she doesn't know which side of her is the normal self, and she wonders who will she become, or else she'll have to become no one at all. We cut to the student council and Koyomi being in the student council room talking about the script. We learn that Toko is the main character, Sayaka is the lover, Yu is the nurse, Dojima is the friend, and Maki is the family member. Then Miss Hakazaki walks in and tells Toko that they can have a study camp. Yu is worried that Toko might pull something during the studying camp, but Toko promises she'll behave. It's summer vacation and Yu isn't doing anything. Yu sees Natsuki and they decide to hang out. Natsuki says that she was going to ask Yu to go to the same school, but she never did because she thought Yu would just go along with it, even though that's not what was best for her. Toko calls Yu and they have a talk, and that's the end of the episode. Okay, so at the end of the episode, we get more proof that Yu is slowly falling in love with Toko. She's on her bed curled up, and it seems like she's really started to care about Toko. And like she says, when it comes to Toko, sometimes she can't help but focus all on Toko. Okay, so I want to ask a question for everyone out there, and that is, what do you guys think Yu actually wanted to wish for? Because in this episode, we see Yu talk about how she wants to wish for something, but never outright says it. Now, I have 3 theories for this. The first one is at the last episode of this anime, we see Yu say that she wants this to never end, but I doubt that that's what she's wishing for. I kind of think she's wishing for her to finally be able to tell Toko how she feels, or for her to finally be able to have feelings for Toko. I don't know, something along those lines.
So what is Yu? Like, because we know we have, like, an asexual character. Like, is she supposed to be, like, demisexual or something? Or is it just, like, homosexual? I feel like I was missing something. And I was like, I don't understand what I'm missing. I feel like or at least the writers already established, like, she is not asexual by showing that conversation between her and the other guy. The explanation for that would be that she's demisexual. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do think she's demisexual.
Okay, well, now I feel better. Now I no longer feel that confused. Yu, in this episode, is such a mood. Being like, I really want to talk to this person, but obviously I don't need to. Proceeding to think about that person and talk about that person for the rest of your day, I feel like it's just so like #relatable.
Episode 11. We start this episode with them at the summer camp. Koyomi isn't sure about the ending she chose. She kind of wants to change it. The girls take a group bath. Yu takes a picture of Sayaka and Toko playing because Toko took a picture of Sayaka with her glasses on. Sayaka thinks about touching Toko, and she thinks that it was just the two of them. She wondered if she would be able to hold back. Toko thinks about the fact that she wants to see Yu's sleeping face, and how if the two of them were alone, she wouldn't be able to hold back, just like Sayaka. Yu thinks about reaching out, but doesn't because Sayaka is in the room. They are all glad that there are 3 of them in the room. Ishigaya, another member of the theater troupe, is introduced. Ishigaya and Toko have a talk, and that's when we learn that Ishigaya knew Mio Nanami, Toko's sister. They practice the stage show. When Ishigaya is about to leave, Toko goes after him to talk. Ishigaya tells Toko that Mio caused a lot of problems and that she always pushed the hardest work on the other council members, and in a way, Toko is nothing like her sister. We cut to the students playing with fireworks. Sayaka and Toko talk about what Ishigaya said about her sister, and that's the end of the episode. So I really like the line where Toko, Sayaka, and Yu think that they're all glad that there's 3 of them in the room. And something I really don't get is the fact that Sayaka and Toko say that if they were alone, they wouldn't be able to hold back. And I don't know, but something about that like doesn't make sense to me. Like, I've never liked someone enough that I wouldn't be able to hold back. It feels kind of like rapey. I don't know, I just found that part of this episode really stupid. Like Toko says, if they were alone it would have been dangerous, and something about that I just really find stupid. I find it funny that Dojima wants to sneak in to the girls' room, and I also find it funny when Toko stares at Yu's boobs.
I did not expect this show I did not expect it to have so many parallels to my own life. Can I just say, I did not think about this when I first watched this, but while you were explaining the episode, it reminded me of this sleepover I had with 2 of my friends who were girls. I mean, sort of the same thing kind of happened because I found out that one of them liked me and then I liked the other one. I cuddled with the girl friendships are so weird. I just want to say that. So I was gay. Everyone knew I was gay at the time. The girl that liked me, she was not out at the time, but she did come out later. The girl that I liked, I think she's like bisexual or something, and she did have a crush on me at some point. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is this show was pretty accurate in my opinion. I have not seen a proper love triangle in a very long time. This isn't one, obviously, because a love triangle is when person A likes person B, who likes person C, who likes person A. And I'm so happy that it isn't a love triangle because I hate them and I think they're really stupid. And I think although it is overplayed, I do find more interest when two people like the same person. I wasn't at all surprised that Yoko's sister, older sister, had different sides to herself. I feel like it just made sense since usually in a lot of shows or movies, when we see someone who does have an idol or a hero that they look up to, that person ends up like kind of being a piece of shit. But yeah, that was fun to watch.
What part?
She literally like made the student council do her homework. That was pretty girl boss also.
I remember I heard someone say like, why would you tell their sister that? Like, you are nothing like her. Like, why would you tell their sister that? That's so cruel.
There are so many cruel lines in this show, which I think just makes it like even more iconic.
All right, episode 12. We start this episode with the student council rehearsing the stage show. Toko gets emotional and acts really well. They go on stage and practice some more. After practice ends, Toko and Yu walk home together. Yu asks Toko if she wants to go to Yu's place. They go to Yu's place and make out. Toko says that Ishigaya was a classmate of Toko's sister, and the version that Ishigaya knew was completely different from the version Toko knew. Toko says she doesn't know who she should strive to become anymore. Toko tells Yu to not fall in love with her, and Toko also says that she hates herself. Yu calls Koyomi and talks about changing the ending of the show. Yu runs to Koyomi's place and explains that the main character thinks that one of the personalities has to be the real one. She's hung up on the idea that there's a single answer, but in reality, the person she is right now should decide. The only character they care about is the character on stage right now. They don't care about who she was before. Koyomi agrees that her decision should be based on the time she spends at the hospital, and the episode ends with them agreeing to rewrite the script. Okay, so the scene where Toko says she hates herself is so real, like it put me on edge. I love the way the music stops when she says that, and I really like her like twisted sense of love. Also, I like how Yu seems to be struggling to figure out what to say after Toko says not to fall in love with her. I feel like the change to the ending of the script should have been extremely obvious to me when I first watched this show, but I did not see it coming at all. But now it makes perfect sense that the show had a problem when it came to the ending of the script. Really like that scene where Sayaka and Yu are talking, and then Sayaka's like, do you want ice cream? And Yu gives her an annoyed look and says no.
I really liked how the play is literally just like what has been happening this entire season. They're being meta. And usually I hate meta, but in my opinion, this is good meta. This is how they should do it. The creators of Rick and Morty should take notes instead of committing sexual crimes.
What?
Also, do you know about that?
No, I don't.
Like one of the creators of Rick and Morty just got outed for being creepy towards minors. Are you surprised?
Well, I never watched it, so I'm good.
There were very suspicious scenes in Rick and Morty. Anyway, I knew it. We all knew it, okay? Also, that conversation on the bed, once again, can I just say, this sounds so bad. I love how much Toku hates herself. Like, the scenes that we do get where Toku is, like, truly being her, like, talking about how she truly sees herself, it's so raw. The way that they put everything together for those scenes is just, it's so good. And I think it does a really good example of really showing, like, how upsetting this is to her. And something that anime does a lot, I'm just so tired of, when there's that angle where they're looking down and their hair is sort of in their face and then their eyes just don't exist anymore. Like, sometimes there's angles where logistically you would be able to see their eyes, but they're just not there anymore. I realize that I'm tired of that, and these people need to knock it off and stop doing it.
Episode 13. This episode starts with Toko visiting her sister's grave. We cut to Yu and Koyomi working on the new stage show script at the cafe. Then later in the day, Sayaka and Toko go to the same cafe. They talk about what Toko's sister was like. Toko thinks about texting Yu but doesn't know who she'll be after the stage show. We cut to Miss Hakozaki and the owner at the cafe, where the owner asks Hakozaki if she's more attracted to girls or boys, and Hakozaki says she prefers men. We cut to Toko and Yu going to an aquarium date. Toko says she wants to do more things with you and tells you that she loves her. They practice for the show and they do improv for the show, and Yu changes part of the script on Toko, and Toko doesn't take it very well. She starts seeing herself as distant from you. Well, they spend the rest of the time doing their date and stuff, and Yu thinks that she never wants this to end, and the episode ends with them getting on a train and leaving. This episode was cute, but I don't like the fact that it ended so abruptly. Like, we never get true ending for what's going to happen with these characters, and that really annoys me, because I doubt there's ever going to be a season 2, because, you know, they just love canceling queer shows. But anyways, or no, I really like how the owner gets like all surprised when Miss Hakozaki says she prefers men. It's kind of funny. And yeah, that's all I have to say about this episode. It's really cute. I really like it.
At this point, you know what? I'm glad that it did end here to an extent, because not gonna lie, I was getting so tired of the message of, ooh, I have all these masks and I put them on when I'm around different people. I just felt like I was getting beat over the head with that message. It was brought up a lot, but when it was brought up, I'd say like 70 to 80% of the time, there was something added to the conversation, so points for that. Also, we needed more Riko and Miyako. I would have loved to we needed more scenes, because just in general, we need more like older queer relationships in I would prefer animated shows. We don't get many of them, and when we do, they never get the screen time they deserve, especially since they were so vital. They were vital to like all three of the main characters. In regards to the ending, I have nothing to say, because there wasn't an ending. I am a disgruntled customer and am angry that I now have to read a manga to figure out what happens. You've hurt my feelings, Marco.
Overall, this is my favorite anime, my favorite manga. I love it. I've watched it 5 times, and though I do get tired of it sometimes, I really love the background animations. Like, the backgrounds are just so good, and I really love the adult older lesbians as well as the main characters and their relationship, even though it is a bit like not the best at times. I really love the exploration of asexuality in this show. I love the comparison between like Maki and Yu, and how like Maki doesn't care about how alone he is while Yu does. And not to say that like being alone is bad or anything, but just like Maki is alone and he's fine with that.
Overall, I wish I had something at least a fraction of similar to what to this to watch as a kid. We get so many scenes that perfectly encapsulate real lesbian experiences, while also, you know, setting up these kind of unrealistic or at least like rare moments where these lesbian characters are told they're not weird and their feelings aren't invalid and they're not alone. It just makes me wish that we had more of this, and also to have it widely accessible. If I had something similar to this growing up, and I think if a lot of other people had something similar to this growing up, I think that their lives would have been just a little bit easier, maybe significantly less guilt. Intriguing background characters that actually do play pretty like significant roles they play significant parts in the story. They also play a huge part in character growth. You know, the dialogue I would say was mid, but they did have the occasional banger line that had me giggling. It was a pretty good anime. I would say it's in my top 10.
Anyways, you guys, those are our thoughts on the rest of Bloom Into You. The manga is good, but it does have some problems. There's this one trope I don't like about it, but other than that, I strongly recommend the manga. And yeah, if you want to send us a voice message on Anchor, there's a link in the description to do that. We also have a Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, which will be at midtakespod, which will also be in the description if I remember to write that down. And that's everything, so goodbye.